if we played like footy, like not footy, like soccer
NFL
or something. Yeah.
I don't know what
do
you call
do you
it.
have like
We do call it soccer over here, yeah.
Welcome to episode 1. In this episode, we'll be diving into the traditions, values, and parallels of Loretto schools around the globe. Stay tuned for interviews and snippets of global insights from our fellow Loretto girls.
Hey everyone, it's Simone Kang,
Minnie Surapanpong,
and Simone Beshtoyev. We hope you're having a splendid day. As all great investigations do, our podcast started with a question. What makes a Loretto girl a Loretto girl?
what traits, goals, and values are held by our students that bind us and make us uniquely Loretto?
That got us thinking, given Loretto high schools are all over the world, do we share the same values, goals, and traditions as Loretto girls in Australia, Ireland, and Kenya? Let's find out together. First, we wanted to find out what our teachers think about what makes a Loretto girl a Loretto girl.
Legacy.
Well-rounded, global-minded. They stand on the shoulders of giants.
Positive, hardworking, motivated.
Kind and caring, empathetic towards others, and has a vision not only for her own academic success, but also for her future goals.
A very well-balanced person, involved in school and the community, studious, they're friendly, they're outgoing.
Tradition, academics, spirituality.
Kindness, their great attitude towards learning, their great sense of humor, and their overall respect for others.
Confident, independent, genuine, bold, and daring. Their deep involvement in leadership and a strong sense of self-worth and self-advocacy.
Genuinely interested in making a difference. Big sense of community here that sometimes is lacking at other schools. I think it's just that desire to do more than just academic school, to do extracurriculars, to give back, and to really grow as a holistic person.
And they uphold the values of Mary Ward, our founder, of faith, compassion, and thirst for social justice.
So after listening to that, I don't know, what do you guys think of those answers? I feel like the ones that really stand out are the things that talk about our place in a community. So a Loretto student doesn't just exist in a void, it's really about how we interact with each other. I also think that a big part of it is like the well-roundedness of it all. I think that that's something that a lot of the teachers kind of touched upon because really our school does stress the importance of joining extracurriculars, doing, various clubs, doing sports, really trying it all for the purpose of not only contributing to a lively scene at our school, but also just reflecting about what's important to you and what you like as a person and what you can then further excel in.
Right. And I think on a bigger picture, it really highlights like the leadership and justice, social justice aspect of our school and how like we all have to contribute to not just like our community, but like society.
Let's hear about what the other international Loretto schools have to say about what makes a Loretto girl a Loretto girl.
So first we spoke to 2 Loretto schools in Australia, including Loretto College Merrittville and Loretto Manville Hall 2 Rack.
We also spoke to Loretto College St. Stephen's Green and Loretto Secondary School Bray in Ireland. And lastly, we got answers from Loretto Convent School in Kenya.
I think a big thing is like being able to accept everyone and include everyone, no matter what their different strengths or weaknesses are. So we have so many different events at our school that embrace everyone. So we have like our sports day, we have our swimming carnival, we have a performing arts festival. We also have like our tournament of minds and things like that. So there's all of these different things for different talents and different people who have different strengths and different weaknesses. And in a way, it brings everyone together because it celebrates everyone. So I feel like being a Loretto girl is to be able to celebrate everyone, even if you don't have the same strengths that they do. You can just bring someone else up when you're not bringing yourself up, Yeah.
I also think it's like recognizing that like we are better together. Like there's a lot of support in our community, and even just amongst Loretto girls, it's so important that we like support one another and we like uphold one another. And in doing that, like we're so, like Holly said, we're so much better together, and we're not just individual people in this world. Like when we come together, we're like more united and we're stronger out in the world against men and like violence and all of that. Like we have the ability to empower others.
That was Holly and Laura from Loretto College, Marriotteville in Australia. And what they said about recognizing every student's strength and highlighting it really resonated with me. And I feel like it's so important to make sure that every student feels seen and acknowledged for the unique strengths they bring to the table. And I think our school also does a pretty good job of highlighting that as well. We have the athletic banquet, we have Campo, we have academic awards, we have multicultural, we have music events, and we have theater events. And it's just, I feel like everyone has a place to shine at our school, and we really try to do our best of uplifting each other and seeing each other for what we bring to the table, which I really like.
Mm-hmm. And it definitely hasn't always been easy. I think that sometimes like there is kind of that issue of, how do we push like to be seen? At least in like the MUN club, we have to make it like really known. All of like our kind of members like, experience and efforts into like that they're putting into MUN. And so like you'll see like people making announcements for like what they're accomplishing in their clubs, and you'll see teachers like going the extra mile to make sure that like someone is being recognized. Like there was this one student who really excelled at like basketball at our school, and one of the teachers was like, we need to make this known, like we need to make it heard that this is the accomplishments that we're achieving at the school. And I think that aspect of uplifting each other and having that kind of support system is really important for the continued excellence of our girls.
Yes, definitely. I also really like the ending of their answer. They ended off really well of like the value of all girls school and how it builds confidence in young girls, in us, to go into the world with like men and be confident in who we are. And I feel like that's important.
Yeah, not only because our school was founded by Mary Ward during a time when, or by Mary Ward's sisters during a time when girls simply were not educated. So the legacy that we're built off of is a legacy of going against the grain and making sure women are educated even when popular culture doesn't say so.
Yeah, and I think that like another big part of uplifting each other is really confidence building, and that kind of ties in with like the idea of pushing yourself towards greatness as a woman as well, because in a kind of like in a world where a lot of industries are like male dominated, and confidence isn't something that's intrinsically given to us as much as some of our male counterparts, even in like academia and things that we see in like MUN. Like it's harder to see, or it's harder to build that confidence sometimes as a woman. And I think that we have taken on, as a collective Loretto community, the responsibility for building girls who are confident enough to excel in the world.
Okay, now let's shift our perspective a little bit and look at the bigger picture. We spoke to Charlotte, Harriet, Isabella, and Ella from Loretto Mandeville Hall, Toorak in Australia, and here's what they had to say.
So our schools here at Loretto, I don't know if it's the same for you guys, in Australia, we all have the same 5 values that we rotate each year. So this year's the year of sincerity for us. And then we've got verity, freedom, felicity, and justice. So we have like the one value per year, and we have a theme that we choose on, and basically we center most of our activities and like events throughout the year based off the theme.
This ties perfectly into what Loretto Bray from Ireland had to say. This is what they said. As a school, we are governed by the Mary Ward values: joy, truth, justice, sincerity, and freedom. Everything we do is centered around those pillars. Our students are so encouraged to think first about the communities, so are active citizens, whether through fundraising or volunteering. As a school, we have fundraised over $10,000 for charitable organization this year through activities led and promoted by student body. Student voices is paramount, and they are encouraged to be critical thinker and challenge the status quo. A lot of the time, that means also challenging the teachers too.
Critical thinking is something that we try to prioritize at Loretto Abbey as well. I think through, all of like our classes and stuff, our teachers are constantly, encouraging us to be Socratic with the way that we think, constantly questioning our line of logic, thinking, through things thoroughly. And it also ties in with an answer that we got from Loreto Convent School by Caroline Kinuthia.
In Kenya.
Who was talking about, of course we asked her what makes a Loretto girl, and she said, I think it's discipline. We do what's right, and we have high morals. I think we're also allowed to be outspoken, albeit respectful, and share our opinions. That was highly encouraged.
So we just talked a lot about the values that make a Loretto student, but another really important aspect are the traditions. So let's hear the different ones that we have across different schools. Let's hear from Laura and Holly again from Australia, and the Deputy Principal of Loretto St. Stephen's Green in Ireland, Mr. Fitzgerald.
We also have Mission Day, which is where we raise money for, Mary Ward International Australia. So that goes towards like all their projects, which I'm sure you know a little bit about. But that's where we have like a theme. So as part of the exec, we organise like a theme. So we actually haven't decided this year. Sorry.
No, we haven't decided this year.
But so every year we have a value relating to Mary Ward. So this year's is sincerity. So we will create like a theme around that, and everyone will dress up. So for example, last year it was like justice. So it was like Jingle Bell Justice. So everyone dressed up as like Christmas and like Jesus.
Yeah.
Everything like that. There is like with the leadership, they all kind of come together at the end of like the last year. So at the end of last year, before we start year 12, like a few leaders from all the schools come together and they write a prayer. And then that's the prayer that's said at all of the Australian Loretto schools.
Our trust is run by the Loretto network. So basically, kind of they look after all the Loretto schools in Ireland, all 21, and they're constantly organising events for all the Loretto schools to interconnect. So different ways that we connect would be through debating. So it'd be inter-Loretto debates, we call them. We'd also have inter-Loretto sports. So there'd be sports for the province, which would be all the schools in, say, this part of Ireland. But there'd also be sports that would kind of just be all the Loretto schools. So that happens in May. There'd also be swimming galas too. Yeah, there's great connections, actually. Yeah, that is very good.
So a big overarching theme in this clip is the fact that Loretto is connected to so many things. It's connected to the community around it, and it's also connected to the other Lorettos through debate, through student council, and I think that's just wonderful. What are your thoughts on that, guys?
Yeah, I think the incorporation of a prayer across the different schools is a really beautiful tradition. And I would say that that's something we are lacking a little bit over in Canada, is that we have lots of Loretto schools. Even in Toronto, there are a few, but we don't do a lot with them. We don't collaborate together. And I think that's a really beautiful opportunity for us to maybe integrate in the future. So not only do these schools have a lot of inter-school connections, or they do swaps and they do sports together, but they also have a lot of grade 9 initiation and community building, especially near the start of high school.
But in year 9, there's like something we call Mary Ward Connect, and all the girls kind of swap schools. They go on an exchange. We have 3 different groups of our girls, and they will all get spread out, some to Queensland, some to Sydney, some to Melbourne, and the other schools do the same. So we had lots of girls come here, and they get to like just have a normal day in our school. They wear their different uniform. They come and they just basically learn about our school, learn about our city and everything like that.
For the first years who come in, so they'd be kind of new to the school, we hold an induction week in November for first years, because the idea maybe of ethos initially can be something that's a bit kind of difficult for younger students to grasp. So we spend a kind of a very light-hearted week on ethos and the values of Mary Ward. We kind of just focus in a bit on the crest too and what it means, because sometimes you have the crest but you don't really look at it all the time. Mm-hmm. So we do kind of spend a bit of time. That's a bit of a tradition, and they actually really enjoy it, and they kind of learn a lot about Mary Ward.
Loretto in Toronto, we have that as well. We do Camp White Pine or Camp Olympia, Camp Robin Hood. It kind of rotates. And that's always a great experience for the incoming grade 9s. Unfortunately, we missed it because of COVID, but I feel like that's something that's always great to incorporate, is those spirit days that build community within the school.
They're really trying to set the tone for what we value here at the Abbey, which is like welcoming you with like the warmest of welcomes, into this community that you're going to be a part of for the next 4 years.
Yeah, I think it's really important to have these kind of events just because for new coming grade 9s, you kind of need something to be to share within the community to really feel like you're a part of the community. So going to these kind of events and getting to bonds and maybe having some healthy competitions kind of create those bonds and friendships.
Here it's it's such an important thing and significant thing to leave a legacy in your year. We look at past years and we go, oh, they've done we've started new things, or they introduced intercol, which is the inter-school competition. That was last year. So we really wanted to make a difference in our school, and I think that's where our leadership comes from.
The uniqueness, I suppose, is there's a great sense of tradition. Now, the Loretto schools would have a great sense of tradition. There's definitely the uniqueness would really come from, I suppose, the love of the school and the fact that mums would have gone here, grandparents would have gone here, grandmothers would have gone here. So it's kind of an attachment here that is passed down, I think, through the generations.
So I think these clips are really highlighting the importance of legacy. Legacy is a really vital part of being part of Loretto. It's not just the impact that you leave on your school and your community, but it's also the fact that legacy goes on for generations and generations, and it's wonderful. And when we're talking about what is a legacy, well, I think being part of Loretto means being part of a legacy. Our schools, they're standing, breathing legacies. And they were built by Mary Ward and her sisters, and they were carried through the generations. And it's our job to continue that legacy and to not let it die.
And I really like that idea of kind of multiple generations going through the same school. The idea of mothers, daughters, grandmothers going through the same school is really beautiful, because I think when you've been to this school and you have been touched by how warm and caring it is, you want to see that torch live on. You want to see those values being upheld in future generations to come. So I think that, the fact that multiple generations do attend the same school is the message that they've found something really special and they really want to continue it.
That is true, and I think legacy is a really important part of our school, just because even though we're a public school now, we're no longer a private school. Mothers and grandmothers still try to send their daughters to come to our school to leave their legacy.
Okay, so we're nearing the end of this podcast episode, and to wrap it up, we want to turn the question back to ourselves and ask ourselves, why do we consider ourselves Loretto girls? And I think the best way to answer that is in the form of our experiences.
One time I had this interview that I really, really needed a quiet space for, and I went to Madame Burchell, and she was like, oh, use my office. And then she stopped the class that she was teaching, and she got her keys and she opened her office, and it was quiet, and she was like, nobody go in this office. And it was just lovely to have someone support you that much. Also, I've had times where I've stayed until literally 9 p.m. finishing portfolios with Madame Rachopo. She stayed that late. And then also just the fact that there are pads in classrooms, it's just a really safe environment.
I think for me, very similar to Simone, experiences that make me feel safe and feel I found my people. I found you guys, some people, people who I've genuinely share similar interests and can talk about just random things, and you just gets it. And when I stay after school at Miss Vautour's class, and I think that is what makes me feel motivated to get up and go to school.
And to me, I think a relationship really begins once you start choosing something. So instead of just needing to go to school, I find myself choosing Loretto a lot more often than not. So I'll stay after school a really long time to run a club meeting or to volunteer for curriculum night. And in those moments when I realize, oh, it's 6 p.m. and I'm still at my school, and this was purely my choice, I think I really realized how much I love being part of this community, how much I love this community so much that I choose it time and time again. And I noticed that even outside of the school, I'll be walking down the street and I see a girl in my uniform that I recognize, and I always say hi and I always reach out and I'm like, I know you go to Loretto. And even just seeing fully grown women in real life in the world and feeling that connection of, oh, you were a Loretto alumni. It's just such a beautiful experience.
Yeah, so I guess like sisterhood is really like a way to sum it up.
Sisterhood and warmth, I would say. Yeah. Sisterhood, warmth, community, legacy, and just love for this place we get to call home for these years.